You've probably had this moment. You sit down to rest, open your phone for just a minute, and somehow stand up later feeling more tired than before. Not guilty, not lazy, not undisciplined, just strangely depleted, and you might wonder why something so small feels so heavy. Most people assume it means they've wasted time. They think the problem is poor self-control or not knowing when to stop. But that explanation doesn't really fit how it feels. Because this isn't about scrolling for hours. It's about checking your phone dozens of times without meaning to. It's about glancing at it between tasks, during conversations, while waiting for water to boil. You pick it up while walking to another room. You unlock it without thinking. Sometimes you don't even remember what you were looking for. Afterward, nothing dramatic has happened. You haven't argued online, fallen into a spiral, or watched anything upsetting. And yet your mind feels heavier than before. People often blame distraction. They say phones destroy focus, so of course you feel drained. But distraction alone doesn't explain the specific kind of tiredness that follows. You can be distracted by a conversation, a book, or a movie and feel energized afterward. You can spend hours focused on something difficult and feel mentally satisfied. So why does a few minutes on a phone feel different? The common explanation is that we're overstimulated. Too many colors, sounds, and updates. But that idea is vague and it doesn't match everyday experience very well. We watch busy TV shows. We live in noisy cities. We manage crowded workplaces. Most of that doesn't leave us with the same hollow, scattered feeling. Research suggests the real issue isn't how much information you see. It's how often your brain has to switch modes. And checking your phone forces constant switching. Each time you look at your screen, your brain shifts into a state of alert. It starts scanning for meaning, relevance, and possible consequences. Even harmless messages trigger this process. Your brain asks quietly, is this important? Do I need to respond? Does this affect me? Should I remember this? That mental shift takes energy. Not dramatic energy, but subtle metabolic and cognitive effort. And it happens whether you notice it or not. When you put the phone down, your brain has to switch back to work, back to rest, back to whatever you were doing before. That reversal also costs energy. So one check is small, two checks are small, but dozens of them spread across a day quietly drain your mental resources. Studies suggest that this repeated switching prevents your brain from entering deeper, more stable states. You never fully settle into focus or into rest. You hover in between. It's like standing up and sitting down over and over instead of staying in one position. Each movement is minor, but the accumulation matters. Eventually, your muscles feel it. Mentally, something similar happens. Your attention system never gets to relax or fully engage. It remains semi-alert all day. In an office setting, this is easy to see. You're working on a document, your phone lights up, you glance at it and go back. Nothing dramatic happens. But during that glance, your mind briefly leaves the task. It opens a new context. It evaluates a new social or informational situation. Then it has to rebuild the old context. What was I writing? Where was I? What was my point? That rebuilding takes effort. At home, the same thing happens. You're watching something, cooking or talking. The phone interrupts gently, almost politely. You don't feel interrupted. You feel like you chose to check. But cognitively, it functions the same way. Over time, this pattern creates a strange kind of fatigue, not physical tiredness, not emotional burnout, something quieter and harder to describe. It feels like your thoughts are slightly frayed, like everything requires a bit more effort than it should, like your mind is carrying invisible weight. Research suggests that this constant low-level engagement with potential social and informational demands keeps your stress system mildly activated, not enough to notice, but enough to matter. Your body never fully stands down. You're rarely in true work mode. You're rarely in true rest mode. You exist in a blended state that offers neither depth nor recovery. This is why checking your phone during breaks doesn't always feel refreshing. The break still contains evaluation, comparison, and social monitoring. It is an empty space. Even scrolling through neutral content requires micro-decisions. What to read, what to skip, what to react to, what to remember. Your brain is working even when it feels passive. It's sorting, filtering, and ranking information continuously. That's cognitive labor. Another factor is emotional unpredictability. Every time you check, you might see something pleasant, stressful, awkward, or demanding. Your brain prepares for all possibilities. That preparation itself consumes energy. It's a form of low-grade vigilance. You don't notice it, but it shapes how you feel. This is why people often feel mentally tired without knowing why. Nothing bad happened. Nothing difficult occurred. Yet they feel worn. The uncomfortable realization is that much of this fatigue is self-generated, but not consciously. It's built into how modern communication systems work. It's not about weakness. Phones are designed around frequent low-friction access. They invite tiny interactions rather than long ones, and tiny interactions accumulate. You're not failing to manage your time. You're responding normally to systems built around constant availability. Your brain is doing what it evolved to do. This doesn't mean phones are harmful in some dramatic way. They provide connection, information, and convenience. They solve real problems. It also doesn't mean everyone experiences this in the same way. Personality, job demands, and social environment all matter. Context changes everything, and it doesn't mean the solution is to abandon technology or live offline. That's unrealistic and unnecessary. Modern life depends on these tools. What it means is that feeling drained after frequent phone checking is not a personal flaw. It's a predictable cognitive consequence of fragmented attention. It's a side effect, not a moral failure. When you notice that hollow tiredness at the end of the day, it isn't proof that you were unproductive. It's often proof that your mind never had space to settle. It reflects hundreds of small mental adjustments that went unrecognized, hundreds of tiny shifts between roles, contexts, and expectations, none of them dramatic on their own. Understanding this doesn't instantly change anything. It doesn't remove the need to check messages or stay connected. It doesn't offer a simple fix. But it can change how you interpret your own experience. Instead of blaming yourself, you can see the pattern more clearly. You can recognize the hidden cost. And sometimes, simply knowing why you feel drained makes the feeling easier to hold. It gives it a shape. It gives it a reason. Not everything that exhausts us looks like work. Some of it looks like rest. Some of it fits in our pockets. And much of it happens quietly, in moments so small we barely remember them.